Good evening and welcome to this Sunday night edition of Clara Muse Network. I am your host, Clara, and Queso is wandering around somewhere else looking for Churu, so you just get me tonight. Going to talk real quick about the two headlines that will be relevant going into Monday. That does not mean that there are not other priority news stories, but these are the two that are probably going to be the most impactful as we roll into the overnight and Monday. First story is Donald Trump has decided to ask Tom Homan and ICE to deploy ICE agents to TSA-controlled airports to assist with the delays that are happening due to the partial government shutdown, which is impacting TSA budget and means that those agents are not getting paid. Now, first and foremost, being a TSA agent is one of the harder jobs in the federal government. You are perceived as glorified mall security, screeners, etc., etc. There's some back and forth on that, but the bottom line is this is not everybody's favorite federal government job. Once you get up in the ranks, there are some other opportunities. Basically, most of us know TSA is it's the folks in the blue shirts who stand there and make us take off our shoes, empty our pockets, throw everything into a bin, and then make you walk through the fancy x-ray machine and get a pat down on the other end because you're wearing an underwire bra and it sets everything off. The TSA agents who are working at airports, for the most part, are trained across multiple jobs. So they are not just doing that front of the airport screening. They are helping with back-end baggage screening after your bag goes through at the ticket counter. They are responsible for securing different entry and exits inside of the airport proper. They are monitoring different behaviors and conduct and actions from a variety of security stations. There's more going on than just the screeners that you see. The default everybody is going to right now is that, oh my God, it's going to be the airport screeners. ICE is going to be screening us at the airport. And you're seeing horror stories everywhere about ICE agents flinging people face down and arresting them as they go through screening. While that is possible, because these days anything is, what is most likely going to happen is that TSA agents will be channeled to screening and those technical checks, like baggage going through, baggage claim x-rays, so on and so forth, versus the other security duties they do where they walk around the airport, they're guarding various entry and exit doors. So TSA is going to probably still be very visible at your screening stations. ICE will likely take over those back-end roles where you kind of don't pay attention to TSA walking through because your brain just says, oh, that's a screener and they're going to go check somebody's bag or give somebody a pat down. So my expectation is that's how you're going to see that break out. This is not going to be some massive nationwide rollout with hundreds of TSA agents being offset by a corresponding number of ICE agents, simply because there are 55,000 TSA agents and 20,000 ICE agents. You couldn't do a one-for-one replacement. The airports that will end up being selected will probably be picked based on a combination of traditional long lines, so airports like LaGuardia, Atlanta, JFK, and then airports that may be having a spike this week because we are in the middle of spring break season. So there's going to be a mix. I do expect that Reagan National Airport will have an ICE presence due to the fact that it's kind of the DC airport and Trump is always concerned about that kind of visibility. Tom Homan is a classically trained law enforcement officer, which means he does not actually want another high visibility incident from ICE agents that hits the news. That doesn't mean one won't happen, but I would expect that agents are going to be briefed to have a minimal profile and not be disruptive in the airport, because the last thing the administration really wants is to have a high visibility incident while they're in the middle of a budget fight and while members of Congress are starting to waffle about holding the financing line and insisting that this entire chunk of Homeland Security has to get financed at the exact same time. So, if you are traveling this week, if you have a U.S. passport, regardless of anything else you carry with you, I do suggest that you have that on hand. It is going to be a pain in the butt, but the last thing anybody needs is the argument in the moment about ID and legal status. So, with that, story number one, TSA meets ICE. We will see how that goes starting on Monday. Story number two is threats that have been exchanged between Iran and the White House starting yesterday, with Trump demanding that the Iranians open up the Straits of Hormuz tomorrow by 11 p.m., depending on which set of data we're using. Or he is going to, quote-unquote, start bombing energy infrastructure. Now, yes, bombing energy infrastructure is considered a war crime. There are exceptions, so I wouldn't get too worked up about that particular component right in this instant. There are corresponding worries that this means Trump is going to drop a nuclear bomb on this region. Again, not impossible, because this has been a year of things that we didn't think would happen are happening. But I will remind people that fallout travels on the wind, and the people who are allies in that region or further out, for example, India and Pakistan, not going to be real happy if nuclear fallout drops on them. So I suspect there's enough pressure to keep somebody from doing something silly and dropping a bomb. Any speculation you hear about troops being dropped in the next 48 to 72 hours are unlikely. Troop movements take time. We are still waiting to see the Marine Expeditionary Units that Trump has already ordered to that region arrive. Once those units arrive, they will need staging time and decision-making time. So this won't be a bang, bang, bang operation. There will be some staging and some planning. Nobody can tell you whether or not Trump is actually going to start bombing the Iranian energy infrastructure. Nobody knows. If he does, that will kind of definitively establish an ongoing escalation period, and we are going to be stuck in this for a while. Even if he decides he wants to back out, we will have committed so many resources, and by that time done enough damage internally to Iran that even if we try to pull out, we're going to kind of get tied in and quagmired into everything. I am not seeing anything that makes me optimistic about a positive peace process. I am not seeing anything that shows me an off-ramp or a stop sign. And contrary to the rhetoric, I don't see at this moment any definitive evidence that Iran is running out of capabilities to continue to drop a range of missiles, bombs, and drones on everyone from Israel all the way through to the various countries inside the Gulf zone. You don't need a ton of high-powered ordnance to keep a conflict like this going at a low level for a long period of time. The Straits of Hormuz is a critical shipping lane, and while the White House is continuing to say, well, we don't use it, we rely on a lot of things that come out of that shipping lane, and there can and will be ripple effects. So that's going to be the big headlines for the week. I hope everyone has a reasonably pleasant evening, and We will see if I can get a few more of these up and going this week as I try to get some story ideas going. If you like things, please subscribe, because new page, new bling. Also, if you have specific things you'd like looked at, drop them down in the comments for me, and I'll see if I can get to them this week. As always, I appreciate you. Queso would say hi, but again, she's on a churro quest. Have a good night, everyone.